Welcome to Vegan Brunch and Business, another podcast on a... What day is today? Do we want to say the day? Monday.
It's a Monday.
We're recording this on a Monday.
Yeah. Not that it matters.
Not that it matters.
No.
How are you doing?
I'm all good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's been a great day. I've had a great day today. Have you had a great day?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did wake up...
I was about to say this.
I did wake up about 40 minutes after I was probably supposed to wake up by a text from you.
Yeah.
Actually, I was already awake by this point. I was just scrolling my phone.
Yeah.
And it was 8:20, and at 8:33 you sent me a message saying, don't forget we have an interview in Oakham at 9, and I was in my house in Stamford at 8:33. So I had 27 minutes to get ready and get into Oakham ready for this interview. So not the best start to the day for me, but I think overall it's been successful.
It's been a good day. Good. I'm
Yeah.
pleased to hear it.
Yeah. Why has it been a good day for you?
I don't know. It's just felt productive. It's felt positive. It's felt exciting.
Mm-hmm.
We've done a few different things today. We've been up at Wolfox,
Yeah.
seen that.
How's that coming along? The fans want to know. Everyone's asking how long.
Let's do a little update. Got to start the podcast with a little
We
update.
never do that.
So original.
Yeah.
So, little update. Should we just do like a general update of everything?
General update. Go on.
General update. So, we might as well start with Wolfox.
Yeah.
Wolfox is coming along very well.
Yeah.
You hadn't seen quite a lot of it.
I hadn't.
Because
No.
you hadn't been in quite a while. Mm-hmm. And I love it. I can see it really coming together. I'm glad that when we went today, all the furniture was there and
Yes.
all the like almost the finishing bits were there, because now I feel like I can really see it come together and I can picture it in my mind. Mm-hmm. And there's a few finishing touches that we still need to decide, but I think we're getting there, which feels very exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Nice.
And I think every time I come away from it and don't go for a couple of weeks, I start to get a bit like, I don't know, not nervous about it, but a bit, almost it doesn't feel like it exists or like it's happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then every time I go, I'm like, oh no, I'm actually really excited about it. So, yeah, so I think we should probably give a little date rather than just, throwing out teasers. Well, maybe not a precise date, but a rough time frame. It's probably looking about 6 weeks from now.
6
Is
weeks.
that right?
Yes, about right.
6
About
weeks.
mid-November.
Yeah, is looking for.
Unless there's any disastrous turns of events.
Yeah.
It is
And
looking to be mid-November.
that's just for Fika's opening at Wolfox, not for Wolfox official opening.
Yes.
But we are hoping to be open around that time.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a great soft opening and a great opening, and it's just going to be fun and really vibey, and the space is really vibey. There's some great views. Took some nice pictures today. Yeah.
Lovely. You're going to post those pictures?
I am.
There's some teasers.
I am, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah. So that was very exciting. What else did we do today?
Just in general this week, the update.
In general this week, we've been doing a lot of interviews, it feels like.
We had a long time of not a lot of applicants.
No.
And then all of a sudden they've all come through.
Yeah.
I
And
would
we've
say
had a
what-
really good caliber of applicants.
Yes.
Like it's been hard to choose people, and it's almost like this week I've kind of been like, oh, we need to fit people in like back to back to interview them.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing position
But it's
to be
weird
in.
because we had weeks and weeks of not a single applicant. And in the past 2 weeks we've had at least 10?
It's so odd, isn't it? But it always happens like this.
Yeah.
And it always happens that when we're hiring for Oakham, loads of people apply for Stamford. And when we're hiring for Stamford, everyone applies for Oakham.
I think everyone's like, okay, Wolfox is getting close to opening now. We need to help the lads out.
Yeah.
Let's all apply. We'll go together.
They've struggled through long enough. Let's put ourselves
Yeah.
forward. Yeah, so great caliber of applicants. Looking forward to meeting more people, interviewing more people, having more people in for trial shifts, and seeing how we get on. And hopefully we have some good, solid, permanent additions to the team, because we have a great team.
We do.
Shameless plug. We've got the Aperol back in my ratios, which I think we have confirmed is right.
Do you know what? This one's better than last week.
It's exactly the same.
It's not exactly the same.
It
It's
is?
different.
Right.
It's different.
Anyways, so that's, have I missed anything big? something, but I don't think we're ready to talk about that yet.
No. Let's not talk about that yet. We'll talk about it another time.
There is something else.
There is also something else.
Because we don't like to sit still. Well, we did for a little bit, but currently we don't.
Currently, we're ready to work.
Yeah. You better work. What's that thing that Kim Kardashian said? Get off your ass and work.
Did she say that?
Something like that. And everyone was like, God, she's so insensitive. So that's what we're going to say to each other. Yeah. I don't think I've missed anything. Have you got anything to add?
I think we should clarify why we were laughing so much in the last podcast.
Yes.
People were confused about that.
There was some confusion about that. For anyone only listening and not watching, this is why. The big reveal.
Why were we laughing?
It was because
Rome.
Here we go. He's going to set him off again. So, so actually, when I then listened back to it, because someone mentioned it to me in the cafe, and I was like, God, was it bad? And I listened to it, and it's like a solid 3 minutes of just us laughing. No dialogue, just laughing. Basically, what happened is, it's not even that funny. It's one of those things definitely had to be there. So I think people are going to be a bit disappointed.
Yeah.
But basically, Rowan was on that side of the room, realised his tripod or...
He was behind the camera.
Behind the camera or phone, I can't even remember what it was about to run out of charge. So we had to, stealthily find a charger, plug it into the phone, all without disrupting the podcast process. So he plugs this charger in over there, and he's thinking, you can see his head going, yes, success. And he comes over, and the lead is about this much too short, and he's trying to move the chair quietly. And I think he did as much as he could. And the lead, honestly, it was
millimeters
so close. And he just couldn't get it. So, during this whole time, there was also someone being arrested on the street. So it's just a bit of a rogue 10 minutes. Anyways, so during this time, we managed to keep it together. And then he was like, you could see him thinking, oh shit, that's not really worked. So he then moved over to that side of the room and starts trying to plug it in there. And that was again a few millimeters too short. So
you could just see his face. Oh,
I've run out of options. And then I think it was at that point that you just lost it.
I broke.
And then I lost it. And then we just had to get it out. There was a lot. There was also earlier in the day someone passed out in Tesco. So there was a lot of laughter built up in our system. Yeah. We had to get it out. We got it out, and that's why we were laughing. Are you saying you were laughing
because someone passed out in Tesco? That's very
No, not at all. No, it was quite a rogue scenario in Tesco. I walked in and I was like, what is going on?
They were okay.
Yeah, they were.
To clarify.
Yeah, so that's why we were laughing. It seems very not that funny now.
Yeah, it was funny at the time.
It was very good. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about, first things first, something exciting I came across the other day on Instagram is how many accounts we had reached. And it came up on my little professional dashboard thing.
Yeah.
And it had come up a few times. You know when you see something but you don't really register it?
Yeah.
I'd seen it a few times. And then one day when I opened Instagram, I registered it. And I was like, oh my God, that's so many people. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how, but I only then computed that's a lot of accounts to reach.
This is on our Brunch and Business page.
This is on the Fika Brunch and Business content page.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Because we don't have that many followers on, she's still a baby. We're pushing it.
She's just a baby.
We're just pushing it. And I wouldn't say we're like channeling all our resources and energy into it either. Yeah. I'm sure our viral moment is imminent.
Round the corner.
But, yeah, so it just surprised me how many accounts we had reached.
Yeah.
And I thought that's actually amazing for little old Fika Brunch and Business.
Yeah, which has what, like less than 10 posts on there?
Yeah, I think it's a few more now.
Is it?
Well, it's probably between 10 and 20. And how many followers do we have off the top of anyone's head?
260.
Yeah, so under 300 followers, and we reached so many accounts.
Yeah.
So if all those accounts would like to give us a follow, that'd be great. No, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And obviously it'd be nice to see some of those turn into followers, but we're also not really doing this to get loads of followers and become really famous and have loads
Yeah.
of exposure. Like, we're kind of doing it to document what we're doing. And
It'd be interesting to look back on in 10 years' time and be like, that's what we were talking
Yeah.
about 10 years ago.
yeah,
Show our kids.
Yeah.
Imagine
In 10 years'
seeing
time, are you going to have
your
kids in 10 years'
parents
time?
recording a podcast. Me? Probably not. I don't know. Different topic.
Yeah.
I was going to say something on the followers thing. Oh, I didn't. We haven't had a podcast since my half marathon.
Oh,
Just in case.
this is a big update.
Just in case.
He didn't finish. he didn't make it.
I did make it.
I'm going to start some
In
false
case I hadn't
rumours.
mentioned before, I did a half marathon,
He did.
and so did Sophie.
Yeah.
And we both did it under 2 hours. She beat me, but she is very good, so
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy for that. I
And
ran
also,
with her most of the time.
you
so-
did, and also everyone's money was on Sophie. I
Everyone's
did feel a
money
bit
was
bad
on
for you at one point because I was like, no one is backing Evo here. I'll
No.
back you. But you only finished a few minutes after her.
Yeah,
So
I
you
ran
pretty
with her
much-
till mile 11,
Yeah.
and
Which is
the
solid.
half marathon is 13 miles. So
Yeah.
it was only in the last 2 miles, and I really had nothing left in those
Mm.
2 miles. I was fighting for my life, and I feel like she was ready to go.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy I finished under 2 hours.
Yeah.
First
That is
half
a
marathon.
solid first half marathon.
But the reason I mention it is because during the run,
Oh, yeah.
and I think we mentioned this in one of our posts, but someone that was also running the half marathon was like, "Oh, I listened to your podcast." I was like,
Just
"Oh."
as they ran past you, didn't they?
I ran past them.
All right, you could have let them have the moment. Yeah, that's really cool though. And
yeah, very cool.
Also, my boyfriend met someone when he was out the other night,
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, who was like, "Oh, I love your girlfriend and her brother's brunch and business page. I love
Yeah.
their content page. I follow their podcast." And I was like, "That's really cool."
That's really interesting because I post it on Anchor,
Yeah,
and on Anchor it tells you how many people are listening and following your podcast. And it
Thousands.
doesn't.
Thousands,
It's definitely
isn't
not
it?
thousands. It doesn't seem like that many.
No.
But for the amount of people that come up and say, "Oh, I like your podcast,"
Yeah.
I
The
feel like
percentage
there's
of engagement, I feel
Yeah.
like is between our followers and how many people actually do listen to it is
Yeah.
quite high,
yeah,
that's so nice. It's
Yeah.
nice to hear, and also when it's something that we're almost doing as like a side thing. Like I said, it's not like we spend hours a week planning stuff on it, or it's not like we spend hours planning what we're going to talk about in the podcast.
no,
or
we're not.
anything.
We're not podcasters.
No,
like
this
we're
is
running
what
a
we're
business.
doing.
and
This is what we're doing as a addition to what we're doing.
yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Mm.
Love that for you. And you are still standing after your half marathon.
I am. Yeah, it took a little while for my legs to recover, but
Would you do another?
I would do another.
Nice.
Yeah, I would do another. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would only
felt-
do it like in a nice scenario, probably in the summer or like when the weather's nice. I don't really fancy doing it when it's
No,
not.
you don't see yourself becoming an ultra marathoner.
No, although some of my friends
Here we go.
do these. What are they called? They are ultra marathon, but they're called trail runs.
Oh yeah.
Trail runs. That looks like a lot of fun because you're
Yeah.
kind of like in nature. It's
Yeah.
almost not about like I think if you're running a marathon, you're almost like running trying to get a good time. Like
Yeah.
and obviously you do that in a trail run as well. But for a novice trail runner like I would be, I feel like I'd do it more for the enjoyment of just being out for a day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I felt a bit left out. So I've decided I'm going to do the Great North Run next year. I say I've decided, it's a ballot, so I need to cast myself. What's the word? What do you do in a ballot? Anyone? Anyways, I need to
Cast a vote
apply
for yourself.
and
Yeah.
hopefully be picked.
What's the
from ballot.
application process?
I think you just register your name and you get
And you
picked
get
out
picked.
of a ballot or you don't get picked.
Yeah.
So I'm going to register for that. And
Good
that's
luck.
in Newcastle, I think. And it looks like a great vibe. And I have actually done a half marathon before.
You have.
And it was not fun, but I did not train for it. So, yeah, I'm going to do it next year, not next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that leads us on nicely to what I wanted to talk about a little bit today.
What did you want to talk about?
I wanted to talk about success.
Success.
And what it means to be successful.
You just gotta hold people accountable.
And I will say, I think I've come up with every topic so far. So next week is your turn, and also everyone here can hold you accountable. Or
You just gotta
every
hold people
thousand of our listeners. That makes no sense.
Every
All
thousand
the
of our
thousands of our listeners can hold you accountable to finding the next topic for the podcast, or thinking of the next topic for the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought success was a good one, because where did it come from? I think I was listening to a different podcast, and they were talking a little bit about success and about like holding yourself to a certain standard, and how success is so different for different people. And I was like, that's really interesting. And it got me thinking a little bit. And do you know where my thought process went? And then immediately I was like, oh, but is that right? I thought, well, I'm not successful yet. And like, it's interesting because I'm sure there would be some people who would say that I am in certain ways. But I was very quick to decide that I was not successful yet. But then why am I not successful now? And when will I be? Like, what has to happen for me to be like, I'm now successful?
Yeah.
Because it's not just about money, I don't think. I think success is much more of like a feeling rather than like how much money you have in your bank account.
Yes.
So that's my take on it. And obviously, like, there's a lot more to say on it than that. But that was my initial thought and my first thought. What about you? When I say like to you, either just like success, like what does the term success mean to you?
Success is a very difficult one.
It's really hard.
Because there's no, like, what is the actual definition of success?
I don't know. Yeah, get the
I'm actually
textbook
curious
definition.
to know what.
Yeah, because I think it's something that's so subjective.
So success is the accomplishment of an aim or purpose.
Right.
Is what this says. Let's see if there's a person or thing that achieves desired aims or attains fame, wealth, etc. The attainment of fame, wealth, social status. I think a lot of like how society defines success, and based on those definitions, is wealth, fame, social status.
Yeah.
But obviously it means like it can mean smaller things as well.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about someone being successful, usually it's one of those three things are involved somewhere.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that definition, or do you think
that definition or?
About one of those elements of wealth, fame, or what was the other one? Wealth, fame, or social status?
Yeah.
Does that? Do you think success is the right word even for what we're talking about?
Ooh, maybe not. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong, because I would say that success for me would probably have nothing to do with wealth, fame, or
Are
status.
you talking about fulfillment rather than success?
No, because I think fulfillment is much more personal. It's much more like I've done everything that now makes me fulfilled.
Yeah.
Whereas I think success is like, yes, I succeeded in that. Although I don't know, is it now? Now I'm confused. We're going to have to pause and give me a no. I don't know, because I think like wealth, okay, it's all well and good to say you can define success by wealth, but how much wealth do you need to be successful? Like where is there a threshold where you cross into successful? So if you have £999,000 in your bank account, you're not successful. If you have $1 million, you are successful. Right? Like, where's
the threshold?
Where's the threshold? And who decides it?
Yeah.
Because I think it's all personal. Like, it's all like...
No, I actually think success is almost in the eyes of society.
I agree.
I always think there's an element of like, you can say to yourself, I'm successful.
Yeah.
If you've achieved an aim that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
But if me and you are looking around at the people walking on the street,
and
deciding who's successful,
we
wouldn't be deciding that based on what person.
No, but what me and you might think might be different to what Rowan thinks.
Yes.
About who's successful.
That's true.
So it's such a huge grey area, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of who is successful and what is successful and what's not.
Yeah. So let's, for the
And what about
purposes of this
fame?
podcast,
Because there's so many people who are successful who aren't famous. I
Yeah.
don't think fame has anything to do with it, personally.
but you could be, let's say if it's just wealth, then you could be famous and not wealthy, but then you'd still be successful because you're famous. But then I don't know. Let's say for this podcast, because we're talking about what me and you think it means to be successful.
Yeah.
Let's define success as like the achievement of a personal aim. So what is that personal thing that would in your mind be like, make you think
See, I
I'm
think
successful?
this is the hard one for me.
Yeah.
And I think we've like said this before in the podcast, and we've been honest about this, is we both feel, I think, that we have a direction of where we're going, but I don't think we have an end goal. I don't think we have sat and spoken about when we have 10 cafes, that's our end goal.
Yeah.
Goal. And then I've been watching a lot of The Crown. Goal.
That is our end goal. Do you like that one?
Honestly, it's actually, I found myself saying words and I'm like, no, that's not how you say that. That's how Olivia Colman says it. Anyways, what was I saying? Yeah, so we've never had that discussion. Or like we have, but in very loose terms, and we've always kept it very open-ended. So I struggle with that one. And I think something I've uncovered recently, this like big revelation moment for me, is I actually struggle with setting goals for myself and setting targets for myself, and like almost having, you know how people have like a life plan, which I don't necessarily think is a good thing to do or the right thing to do for me. It obviously works for some people, but I don't have like 5-year goals, 10-year goals, 15-year goals. I have maybe an overall impression of how I want my life to look in X number of years, but I also don't know how many years that is. Like it could be, if it looks like that in 5 years, like great. But also if it takes 20 years, then also great. So I would struggle to answer that. What about you? I know that's a non-answer, but
yeah, I think I have an idea of the things that are important to me to live a successful life. So I think let's take the topics of wealth and fame.
Yeah.
Which,
what about social status? Are we just ignoring that?
Fame, I feel like fame and
social
social status are kind of like linked together. So let's just like group it under one thing. Maybe they're not actually.
Are they though? Because I think you could have quite good social status and be known. Like there's loads of people in Stanford that have social status but
they're
aren't
not famous. But they're famous in Stanford.
Are they famous?
Or maybe
though, or
not.
do they
Is
just have
social
good
status just like you're
find the definition of social status?
It's like you're a lawyer, so you might not be famous.
No,
but you've got
I
social
don't think
status
so.
because like you're in a position.
I don't think that's it. I think that's an element of, but I think social status is probably more how your like community sees you and how you're esteemed.
How well respected you are.
And how like people close to you see you.
Yeah.
Probably more that, I would think.
Okay, so I have an idea of how I go about this answer. So I think with wealth and fame and to a certain extent social status, I think there's something which is missing there for me. Especially in today's day and age. I think it's not very easy, but it's a lot easier than I think it used to be to make money. And you don't have to be someone who's gone through
We need to have 2 camera cuts, one of us and one of Rowan. I was trying to ignore it and I could just see it from the corner of my eye.
That would be really fun if we just had a camera facing.
Sorry again to anyone who's listening and not watching.
Just to clarify, I was in my own world for a second and looking at my shoes. I was listening, but I was looking at my shoes as well. Anyway, carry on.
Where was I? Yeah, I think it's become easier for anyone who's, let's say, not got a... I think before, if you wanted to make lots of money, you had to, unless you got really, really lucky, you've got to go to university, you've got to work your way up for like 10, 15 years. It takes a lot of time to get to a
I think it was
position
like almost like a scale, and you had to be, or a spectrum, you had to be one extreme of the spectrum of either incredibly an entrepreneurial and ambitious and driven, but like to the point of where you're like a shark.
Yeah.
Or you had to be incredibly well educated.
Yeah.
It was one or the other. You couldn't just
Yeah.
be like a good entrepreneur. You had to be
Yeah.
an incredible entrepreneur.
Yeah. Whereas nowadays you have, correct me if I'm wrong, you might know this, the highest paid YouTuber is a 10-year-old kid or something who like makes videos about his toys, and he makes
That's
like,
I
mental.
don't know that for sure, but
Yeah.
I mean,
I think
It
it's
doesn't
something-
sound far-fetched though, does
Yeah.
it? It doesn't sound like, oh, no way.
Yeah.
I mean, it
he's-
does a
he's
little
making-
bit, but it's also like, yeah, it could be.
and
Yeah.
those like the boundaries of what it means and what it takes to be a successful YouTuber have changed like massively.
Yeah.
Because of how easy it is to delve into different areas of content on somewhere like YouTube as a platform.
Mhm.
There's always going to be an audience, and if that particular thing picks up,
Yeah.
then you
Definitely.
might become
Yeah.
successful overnight almost.
Exactly.
Or it might take a long time. You
Yeah.
work very hard.
Yeah. So to me, and also like I feel like you've got some proper. I think a lot of people that do that kind of thing are great, but you've also got some clowns doing it.
Yeah.
You've got clowns, and you've got people that are just
Scam artists.
scumbags. Yeah, that will like. Can I
This
say
is
that?
a family-friendly podcast.
No, but there are people
Yeah.
like that, and I get when I watch YouTube, I watch a lot of like entrepreneurial, like finance related content, and a lot of those people advertise to people like me, and they're pushing like crypto scams or like buy my course, and it's like a 1,500 quid course, and they're just like preying on the desperate.
Yeah.
But you've got a lot of people like that making a lot of money. And so to me, I would struggle to look at someone like that and be like, yeah, that's success. Because success to me is something that I would want to aspire to be. So I struggle to look at someone like that and think.
Admire
that
them
is-
for being
yeah,
successful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
That's a really good point.
Wealth and fame in that respect, I think, are incomplete.
Yeah.
I'll give you another example of someone who I do think is successful, but is neither wealthy nor famous.
I'm excited.
And I'm only saying this from a very bird's eye view of not really knowing them that well.
Yeah.
But like, it's not the particular person, but it's more the general. What I'm about to describe that I think is more respectable than someone pushing a crypto scam. So there's a restaurant that's just opened underneath my flat, which is just reopened. It's called the Meze Bar.
Yeah.
And the lad who
I have
runs
no
that,
idea where you're going with this.
the lad who runs that,
Yeah.
has got both his sons working for him, and the other people that work there also all seem like friends and friends of family. That kind of thing. To me, that person is more respectable because he's created something, built something that like takes care of his family, that like brings people together, that customers are happy with. He's built something meaningful, and maybe he's not made a shit ton of money from it or got famous from it, but it's something meaningful that like can take care of the people around him. And I think that's more respectable and more what I would aspire to do rather than to be super wealthy or super famous.
That's a really good example. I like that. That was very well done from you, Ivo. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, I think I would agree with pretty much everything there. And I think
You know what, just to add to that, I think we talk about success in terms of wealth and fame.
Yeah.
And some very I think these are like very
it's very
not
like
to get too heavy,
measurable.
but I think it's very like capitalist concepts.
Oh yeah.
Whereas we don't talk about success in terms of values, and I think values is something.
And
that
in
we've
terms
lost.
of like what's making you happy, and
Yeah.
in terms of what's like making you fulfilled, and what gives you enough time to spend with your family and friends, but also work on something you love.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm sure there are so many people in the world who would be deemed successful by everyone around them, who are famous and wealthy and have high social status, and everyone loves them, and blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But are deeply unhappy and deeply unfulfilled in what they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's great that they're successful by everyone else's standards, but their own. Because I'm sure those people wouldn't look at their life and be like, do you know what? I'm really successful. I'm fucking miserable, but I'm really successful.
Yeah.
Like, what
They
good
wouldn't-
does it do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think then the question to ask is, what do you think there will ever be a point in your life where you sit back and you go, I'm successful now. I have succeeded in X, Y, and Z, or do you think that's just not something that comes naturally to an entrepreneur?
I think for me, that point might come, but it will probably come very late in my life. And it will probably come at the point where I think I've challenged myself enough to the point where I don't want to be challenged anymore. Because right now I'm sitting here thinking I could take on more. I could deal with more stress and issues, and I could be more challenged. And I need to find out where the limit to that is. And I think once I cross that limit and come back from it, then I'll be like,
see, that's
I'll be
really
more
interesting,
inclined to
because
say-
my definition of when if I think to future me, and I think, when am I going to be sat there thinking I'm successful now, I've made it, it's very different to that.
is it?
Yeah.
Talk me through it.
I think my version of success and how I see it in my life is when I have everything I need. So like all the basic needs. I have everything I want, and I'm healthy, and everyone around me that I care about is healthy and happy and taken care of, and I feel fulfilled. But I also feel like I have time to spend, to not just fulfilled in like I work 24/7 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I never take a day off, and I never spend time with anyone except for like work. But where I have pockets of time in my schedule to spend doing things I love and with like people I love. I think that's the point where the combination of all those things, the middle part of that, I think is where I would go like, I've made it.
Here's a question for you. A lot of what you've described sounds like a reflection of your current reality. What do you think is missing from your current reality?
And maybe this is where the caveat is. Maybe there are some people that are just never going to be happy with what they have.
And you're one of them.
Maybe. Because I think it is also a very common thing to always think like, when I get to that point, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
When I have this, I'll be happy. When
Yeah.
I do this, I'll be happy. When I meet this person, I'll be happy. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Do you know what?
probably so
On
much
that
of
on that topic, it was very strange because I always knew that I would be some kind of businessman. And by that I mean that I would have
businessman always just sounds like very dodgy and like go crooked.
businessman.
As
I don't know,
something
because
a bit-
entrepreneur sounds. I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah.
I think entrepreneur sounds more legitimate
Do you
than
think?
businessman.
Okay, let's say
Probably because
okay,
of
right,
the
right.
Bulgarian word businessman. Because
Businessman.
anyone who's a businessman in Bulgaria is definitely doing something dodgy.
Maybe we are. No. We're not.
Next minute, the Batman's knocking at the door, investigating.
Entertainment purposes only.
Yeah, please don't take anything we say seriously.
Where was I? I was saying I always knew I would be some kind of entrepreneur. I didn't know exactly what,
Yeah.
but I knew that was what I was always striving towards.
Yeah.
And this is so funny. Even in lockdown, I created a YouTube series, and on Medium, which is a writing platform, I created a publication, and they were both called Becoming a Businessman, and it was going to be the documentation of my journey of like the steps that I took to become a businessman, which is so funny. And then 3 months later, I became we bought.
Did you
Fika.
document it though?
Not very well.
Is there some
No,
unreleased
I'd have
footage
to. Yeah, I'd have to get
here?
back
Is
to
there? Oh, stop.
it. Yeah, but
Yeah.
the reason I bring it up is because until that point in my life, that was like the thing that I was striving for.
And then you
And
got
when
it.
I got it, it
Did
was
it-
a very weird experience because I almost was. I would say I was less motivated when I actually got it than I was because before I was striving towards something. And you know me, I was very disciplined with my money
Yeah.
and like with what I was spending and what I was
Yeah.
doing. Whereas when I got there, it then became a lot more difficult because then I was like,
think
okay, like
it's
what do I
all
do now?
just a construct in our heads. It's all just, and I think that it's probably quite a big issue of why a lot of people are unhappy. Not everyone, like I'm sure there's other real big reasons why people are unhappy, but I think that this one is probably quite a big one because if you're always looking to the future and thinking like, I'm not happy now, but when I get that, I'll be happy. And when I get there, I'll be happy. And when I do that, I'll be happy. Like you'll get there and then you'll be like, right, I'm not happy currently yet, but when I get to the next place, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And you're just constantly, which is like, it's great for pushing you forward, but not so great for like actually feeling happy and being in a good, And do you know what, actually, I think because you said that that's describing where I currently am, there's probably, I think I can pick out like nuances of like, yeah, I do have time at the moment, but A, that's about to change, and B, I feel like I don't always have that much time to spend with the people I love, but I think that's more that I don't choose to spend my time that wisely. But there are, I don't know, that's an interesting one, but I do think I've learned better to live in the moment and to like appreciate the things that I do have now. And I would say now, compared to how I feel now in terms of happiness levels and fulfillment levels, I'm in a very different place to where I was a year ago.
Yeah.
Very, like entirely different. I think that's probably very obvious to you as well.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, because I've learned to be like, yes, to think to the future, and I always want to do more, but also to be like, but there's still all this that we're still doing, which is amazing. And like, sometimes it's quite nice to be like, oh my gosh, a year ago we didn't even have another cafe, and now look where we are a year on.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's
crazy.
not even up to our year anniversary.
I know. And like, sometimes it does just take you a moment just to think that. I'm not saying like we need to sit there for 2 hours a day and be like, oh my God, this is what I did this year. And like, it's great. But it's just sometimes like there's a fleeting moment of like, this is great. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we divulged a little bit there from success onto happiness.
Divulged. Is that a word?
Diverted.
Diverted.
Divulged is to give away
Disclose.
information. Diverted a little bit there from success onto happiness, but I do think the two are interlinked because I think it doesn't matter how successful everyone else thinks you are. If you think you're an utter failure, the whole world could be telling you you're a success and it wouldn't matter. That's my take.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think that summarizes it nice. I think in my mind, success.
So for
is
you,
maybe
when we see
partly-
you chilling on a beach, not being challenged anymore, that's when we'll be like, he's successful.
Nah, I'll be. Well, yes.
In many years'
I'd
time.
been challenged to
Yes.
my limit.
If you'd had
at
at
that
least
point.
3 mental breakdowns
Yes.
before that.
I don't think I'd consider myself successful if I ended up on a beach living the best
a
life
couple
I
of
can.
years' time.
But if I didn't feel like I'd been pushed to my absolute
Yeah.
limits,
Yeah.
I think I need a struggle
Yeah.
and a challenge in my life.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm okay without the struggle. You can.
Are you?
No, I do. I definitely
No,
want
I
a bit,
think you need to.
a bit of struggle, a bit of struggle, a little bit of chaos, a little bit of like Do you know what I enjoy? I enjoy the breakthrough moment. And I was thinking about this. This is going to sound really funny and like a tiny trivial example, but it's a good example that I think about sometimes. Okay, so a couple of months ago, when we were like, how are we going to make croissants? Really want to serve our own croissants. And we were like, are we going to buy them in from somewhere? There's nowhere good that we want to buy them in, because we were so like, we're not buying in frozen ever. But do we buy them in from a nice local bakery? There aren't any nice local bakeries that do like
And we
croissants.
even approached a couple.
We approached a couple that were further away and tried to make the logistics of that work, and it just wouldn't work. And I was like, I am going to learn to make croissants if it takes me 3 years. I'm going to learn to make croissants own. And the bakery gang is going to learn to make croissants. And it didn't take me 3 years. It took me a weekend of actually doing it. And the breakthrough moment when there was like 3 successful batches of croissants. I was like, oh my God, guys, we've actually made our own croissants. And now I have a little moment. And I know this sounds, like I said, so trivial and so small, and so like, and that we've done bigger things that are probably more worth talking about. But every time I see like one of our great looking pistachio croissants on the counter, I'm like, we did that.
We sold out by 10 o'clock today.
Yeah. We didn't buy them from anyone. We
Yeah.
didn't have anyone make them for us.
Yeah.
We couldn't find anyone to make them for us. So we did that. We found out how to make them. We found a way to make them. We did our own version and we did it. And the breakthrough moment was great.
Yeah.
And now I look back and I'm like, I'm so glad that we did do it.
Well done.
Yeah. So a bit of a struggle.
Congratulations.
Small struggles like that for me work great.
Yeah.
Learning how to make croissants.
That's good though, because I think the more you do stuff like that, where like, I have no idea how to do this, but I will figure it out, the easier that whole process
Agreed.
becomes.
And the more, the bigger the challenge you can take on.
Yeah.
So you can start with learning how to make croissants, but then you can be like, I'm going to oversee the building of this whole cafe.
Nothing that we've done has been something that we have experienced
No.
doing.
So
well,
far.
that's some things, but
Yeah.
like we'd never built a cafe from scratch that used to be a phone shop.
Yeah. That everyone was like, what?
Yeah.
How are you going to make that work? And here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah. Probably a better one to have talked about. But everyone enjoyed my pistachio croissants.
No, I do think that croissants are a big breakthrough.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
How much are we on?
I don't know,
think
about
that's
42 minutes.
I think that's a
42?
good place to
Yeah.
leave it. Have
Do
you
we
got
want
some
some
questions you
questions?
want to
I've
ask?
got a question.
Go
on.
for you. So,
Oh.
in which part of each of your lives do you feel most successful in, or are you proud of being successful in, that's not linked to your business?
Oh. I had my answer already then.
It's not
Oh.
linked to Fika in any way. Whether that's through
That's
maybe
a big question.
something that is personal and that you see in yourself, or something that in your past, or something that you're working towards.
I'm happy. I think I've got my answer,
Go
but
on.
it's quite personal. I don't know how personal we want this podcast to get.
Depends whether you want to divulge.
Divulge.
that information.
Not divert, divulge. I don't mind divulging. Do you want to go first? Or do you
No, you go first. Well, let me go first because I feel like your answer's gonna
take a while?
not take a
No.
while, but it's gonna be like more deep than my answer.
Okay.
So I don't want to
Go
like
with yours.
be like,
It was like, I can make a great taco.
And I run a half
nice.
marathon in under 2
I ran a half
hours.
marathon. No, do you know what I would say for me? And I'm only experiencing very small levels of success in this area, but I would say that for me they are significant. Is in my fitness journey.
We weren't joking about the
We
half
were joking.
marathon.
And not so much the half marathon, but I spent a lot of time being injured.
Yeah.
And you know, from when I was really young, I had all my issues with my back, and I then dislocated my shoulder probably upwards of 10 times now. And for the last few months, I've been back in the gym, which I didn't think I'd be able to do until I fixed my shoulder up. But it's not completely fixed now, but I'm doing as much as I can. And there was also a long time until probably about February, March of this year, where we were so busy with Fika that I had no time to do any of that.
Yeah.
And I would say the progress that I've made in the last 3 to 4 months is very encouraging. It's not the level of progress that I actually thought I would be able to make, because before, when I'd been going to the gym, I'd go for like a few weeks and then get injured. Whereas now I've been doing it for a few months, and I can see myself getting stronger, and fitter, and feeling better, and progressing. So I think when it comes to I think when it comes to business, I know what I'm capable of, and I know that I can get very far, and I almost don't find a lot of the stuff that we do that challenging. Whereas for me to even make a small step in that realm is a greater challenge than making a huge step in this realm. So I would say that's an area that I
think that's a really good answer.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good answer. And I also think that is a really good answer for you, because I do feel like you've had points where you've been really down about your injuries and your back and your shoulder, and where it's just like you've just been angry about it because you can't do anything about it. And it's quite nice to take some of that control back, I guess. Yeah, that's
because I've always wanted to get after it. But it's like I have to be careful. I also have to be very careful, because I can't push myself. I know,
which is probably hard for you, because I feel like you're probably like,
I want to do it, but I need to be careful about how I do it.
So mine is a bit deep. No, mine is, I think, I was going to say about a year ago, but it's probably longer than that. It's probably been like a lot of a longer process. But I'd say properly, I think about a year ago, I committed to like a I want to say self-development, but I hate that term. But like a self-development journey, and a bit of a like self-love journey, because and like I'm not going to go into masses of detail in it, and I also don't want it to be like a sob story, like, oh my god. But I think about less than a year ago, probably about 9 months ago, I was like not in a great place mentally. I had a very low point, and I was like, I never want to feel like this ever again. So I will not allow myself to be in this position ever again. And I went on a bit of a like journey and a bit of a commitment to uncover like why I let myself get to that place in the first place, and what it was that caused it, and everything like that. And I think I would say I'm proud of myself for learning the way I react to things, and learning how to react to things better, and learning better outlets for things than an immediate emotional response, if that makes sense. And that's a very like wishy-washy thing, but I don't know whether that makes sense to anyone.
I think people understand.
Yeah, I think that's what I would say now. And I think you're probably the person like closest to me that's like experienced me in my full effect then and now. And you would probably agree that I deal with situations very differently now. I'm a lot less emotional about things now. Not in like a I'm cold-hearted way, but just in I think I can be a lot more like, okay, I'm going to step away from the situation for a couple of days, and I'm going to think about it by myself and process it by myself, and then react to it, rather than like react to it emotionally in that moment and get really wound up and then just like spiral from there. Yeah, I'd say that's what mine is. That's
well done.
Very deep. I've just shown a very different side of myself there.
No, that's good. I think that's what the fans want to see. They want to see the real stories.
Yeah, the emotion.
What it is that we do.
Yeah.
Well done.
Peace out. I think that's a good.
I think that's a good point.
That's a good ending.
Thanks for coming to therapy today.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone, our listener count is about to nosedive.
I'm gonna go up. I'm just gonna get different lists.
Yeah, it's gonna be a whole different. We're gonna get some like agony aunt emails and. No. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you very much for being here on this Monday evening.
Monday evening. It's very dark outside.
Although you're going to listen to it on a Wednesday, so.
Yeah. But we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you then.
Clap us out. Oh, that was very synchronized.